Hi everyone, and welcome to the today's session. So we will be starting our session now. I hope I am audible to everyone. If I am not, please raise your concern in the chat box. So today's webinar is on Learn API testing in 90 minutes. There are a few ground rules for the webinar which we would like to tell you before starting it. So we'll keep you all on mute mode during the session. You will be unmuted at the end of the session for the question answer round. In case somebody wants to ask any of the questions in between of the session, you have the option of typing your queries on the chat window and your queries will be answered by our experts as soon as possible. So this webinar is being recorded. So you'll get the recording of this session later for your reference. So let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Rishika Omar and I am the marketing consultant for Develops Alliance. Coming to the next slide, before starting the technical session, let me give you a quick intro about our company. So Develops Alliance is the leading provider of technical training and consulting services. So technical training here are our top trending trainings and workshops like SDET and automation, robotics process automation, data science and machine learning, DevOps. DevOps is the very popular one out of these. Blockchain, performance testing, and of course, last but not the least, soft skills also. So we have presence across various continents like Asia, Canada, USA, and also we are having very rich pool of IT professionals, consultants, and advisors in the respective segments. So you can visit our website. We are not having much time, so you can visit our website for getting the more information on the same. So there are many competitors available in the market, and why you should choose us over the competition. That's what I'm going to cover in this slide. So number one is practical workshops with zero theory. Our sessions are completely hands-on with use cases and assignment oriented. Number two, we have limited batch size so that you can get the focused attention. Number three, our trainers are subject matter experts and have real-time industry experience. Number four, our curriculum. So our course curriculum is designed such as it falls under the category of industry standards. It meets the industry standards. Coming to the very important slide of this webinar. So this slide is for the people who wants to enroll for the course at discounted rate. Since we are running an offer of 10% instant discount on the course fees, and this is valid for the webinar day. Those who are interested and wants to enroll for the course can click on the link given in the chat window. Uh, Apply this coupon code, which is mentioned out here, and you'll get 10% instant discount on the course fee. So next batch is going to start from 30th of April, and you can enroll for the same and get the discounted price for the webinar day. So now I am going to give you a quick intro about our trainer. I'll not take much of your time and we'll quickly start the session. So our trainers are basically the real-time industry practitioners who are working in different global MNCs and are having very rich experience in automation. So without any further ado, we would turn the time over to Mr. Venkat for our presenter today. So Mr. Venkat, you can take over the session now and proceed with the agenda. Venkat?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, all. Welcome to the session, and hope all are joined. Can I start, Rishika?
Yeah, you can share your screen. And you can start.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. You are able to see my screen. Can anyone confirm you are able to see my screen?
Not yet, Venkat. Your voice is cracking. It's loading now.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's loading. And your voice is cracking. Could you please check your interconnection?
Okay. Sure. Am I audible now clearly?
Yes, better.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, here this is the agenda for API testing. Like we are in like what is the API testing and why the API testing is important in the current market and what are web services and we'll go for the REST API architecture and what are the different HTTP methods and why we are using these HTTP methods and what are the importance of each HTTP method and validating the REST API responses, what kind of responses we will be getting and all. This is the brief introduction. We'll be covering all these topics in this session. And let's go for the topics. Yeah, introduction to API testing. Yeah, what is API? I hope you all know about UI, right? Let's just give the brief about UI. Suppose we are having the website of Disney Hotstar or some any other website. We know, okay, like as a automation test engineer or as a manual test engineer, we all having previous. I hope you all are having previous experience of UI testing. Or usually will be interacting with the UIs, right? So whatever the data here it is presenting, it's a presentation layer. But before presenting, like suppose if you want to book a ticket in any airline, we have to give the details of the our details to the airline, like name, mobile number and all. Like that data must be saved in database, right? Suppose here if I click on login, it is asking whether you have the mobile number or you if you have the Facebook or email account. So like usually we'll be seeing the sign up button or sign in button or something. Sign up means if you don't have the account, then that time we are we are first time we are logging for the application, then that is asking the sign up. If already if we have account, it is asking for sign in. That means UI is a kind of a presentation layer. Our data, suppose our bank or something, any other details, the data is storing in the database. So what exactly the API is doing? API is retrieving here, if you observe here, presentation layer is UI and database application database is DB, and this is where the API is coming to picture. This is the API part. Like API is fetching the data from the database and presenting into the presentation layer. So here if you observe here, request and response, when the request is sending, suppose we are sign in condition. If you observe here, sign in condition, here if you enter our phone number, suppose example, then that time it is a kind of request and it is going to the database. And in the database, if the data is whatever the phone number or anything, if we present, if whatever we have provided, whether that particular data is present, then it is fetching from the database and it is coming to the response to the API, and API is providing to the presentation layer, okay, this is the valid mobile number and you can you can allow to log in. Okay, this is the part where the API is functionality. Okay. And next slide, benefits related to API testing. Most of us know about UI. What is the benefit of UI means? Okay, this is the presentation layer, and the user will be comfortable and user can access based on this presentation layer. But API is more of business related, I can say. And API is it's a kind of back-end testing. Like suppose if anyone developed any application with the help of API, we can fetch that particular service, and we no need to develop, we can reuse it. Okay, suppose I will go to the previous example. Here, if I log in, if I don't have the Hotstar account, I can, if I have the email account or Facebook account, I can continue. No need to maintain the users database in my data. Suppose I am the owner of the Hotstar. Suppose example, I no need to maintain the users database, users details and all. If I have the account in Gmail or Facebook, if anyone is having, then I can use the Gmail and Facebook details, and I can log in with Gmail and Facebook, and I can access the Hotstar. So that is the advantage of API. Okay, if you observe here, and also it is not language dependent. Like the application can develop in any language, either in Java, JavaScript, or anything. We no need to bother about the language. And enhance the test coverage. If it is coming to the testing perspective, we can cover more coverage. Why? Because we know, suppose if it is a UI, we have to be ensure that each functionality and each item will be is working correctly or not. We have to ensure. But in API, we no need to bother. We have to like ensure that okay, major functionalities are covered or not. If it is covered, then that is fine. And also cost effective. As I said, we no need to pinpoint, and we no need to cover each and every element. So that the test coverage will be reduced, like more test coverage with less number of test cases. So the cost effective, it is API testing is cost effective. And also the application, we can access the application for the API testing. We no need of user interface. Like we are saying, okay, this application is working, and we are retrieving the service, or the service is working as expected, based on the status codes or based on the kind of HTTP methods. I will tell you brief about all those response codes, and how we will be validating. Yeah. And also with the help of API, we can make the releases, like it is coming into the releases point of. Usually in every project, we'll be having like every month release, or every 1.5 month releases. Usually it will be happening. So at the time of releases, have performed the if we have performed the 1 second. If we have
Venkat, could you please run this PPT in presentation mode so text
okay,
can be visible to all?
okay, how can
You can press F11, or from the bottom there is option coming up next to the zoom.
okay. Hope you are all able to see, right?
Yes, now it is. Thank you. And please explain again, like, about the what is API, and it would be great, like, if you can maintain the slow pace so
Okay,
audience can, understand easily.
okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like we all know about UI, and API is just fetching the data from the database and presenting into the UI. So here the advantage of API testing is usually if we are stick to the UI testing, we have to be like, as a tester, we have to be responsible for each and every element, or each web element is working fine or not. If suppose in any release, if we miss the functionality of any of the web element or functionality, that will be a very loss to the application and the project. In the case of API, we are validating the responses in the form of HTTP methods and the response codes, so that we no need to check each and that many number of web elements, or we are checking the functionality of the web elements, not the whether that web element is displaying as expected in the color and all. Okay. And also its API testing is language independent, the irrespective of the developer develops the code in Java, JavaScript or anything, the API can access that application, and depending on the requirement based on the CRUD operations. I will tell you the CRUD operations. In the database, we have the CRUD operations. Hope this is visible, right? Yeah. Here actually we have the CRUD operations, C means create, R means read, update, delete. Like if we understand these CRUD operations in API also, the similar operations we are utilizing here. Here create means here we are using the post method. Read means we are fetching the data, what is the content which is present in the particular web page. To get that, we are using the get method. I'm just resembling in API terminology. And update, either we can use the put method or patch method. And delete, for delete we can use the delete. Why? Because API is the, if you observe here, as I said earlier, the UI is the presentation layer, and API is the intermediate layer, and database is the backend layer. So you, whatever the data which is present in the database, to API is retrieving that particular data and fetching it, placing it into the UI. So API is the intermediate layer in between the UI and database. So if we know the CRUD operations in the database, we can easily that the similar methods we are using in the API in the form of HTTP methods like post, get, put or patch, and delete. Okay. And coming to here, yeah, here in this slide, I'm going to explain about the client server architecture. The client server architecture is similar to the, as I said earlier, the UI as well as the database. And with the help of these get, post, put, and delete, these are the HTTP methods. We are performing some of the operations on database with the help of these methods. Okay. So the request and response is transmitting in the form of JSON over the HTTP protocol. And here in this slide, usually we'll be seeing about, we'll be hearing about the terminology of web service and web API. Usually both are doing the similar functionality over the network. If you observe the comparison between the web service and web API, web service is, if it is over the network, it is performing. It is web API is performing in between the two systems, and web service is allowing the kind of data is allowing XML data, but web API is allowing all the kinds of data, either JSON or XML or text. Any kind of data is accepting by API. And coming to here, web service it is allowing the HTTP method. Usually we'll be seeing in the URL, we'll be seeing HTTPS also, right? The HTTPS means secured HTTP. That means it is a secured one. API is secured one because it is it is allowing HTTP and HTTP methods, and also web service is accepting the XML kind of data, but API is accepting all the kinds of data, XML, JSON, and also plain data, either text or not. I will I will explain in through Postman what kind of data and how what kind of responses which kind of data is accepting by API and all. Practical I will show you while giving the demo. And what are the different tools which is present for API testing? There are number of tools for API testing. Currently, most popular tools are Postman for REST APIs and REST assured with Java if it is automation, and SOAP UI for XML based. These are the tools, and today we are going to see about the Postman. And what are the different HTTP methods? As I said, these are the different HTTP methods: get, post, put, patch, delete, and there are so many. But most widely using HTTP methods are these five. I will explain practically through Postman in the coming after this explanation. And here there are different HTTP methods. Why these different HTTP status codes here we do require? Usually if we go to ATM, sometimes we are trying to withdraw the money. Sometimes because of the server issue or ATM issue, we will not able to withdraw the money. In those times, if we see the print statements, we'll be getting some error codes. And also sometimes in some of the ATMs, they will be writing some of the ATM error codes, and what are those particular codes. That means the error description and errors description of the errors are very huge. To no one can't able to what we call memorize or remember. So to ease of purpose, they assigned status codes for each error, so that the user can easily recall and okay, what is the status code and what is the functionality and where the where the issue is present. That's the reason the status codes are arrived. So how we can validate through these status codes, and all will see in the coming slides. And this is the theory part. I will just brief about what we learned, and I will go for demo. If you observe here, what is API? As I said earlier, API is the middle layer between the UI and database. So API is just fetching the data or placing the data in the database. And why API testing is important? As I said earlier, I have taken the example of suppose the Hotstar. If the user doesn't have the no, if as a Hotstar, suppose if example to say this is my application. If the I no need to maintain the user details and user credentials and all. If the user is having the email or Facebook account, okay, and what are the web services? Web services are also similar to the API, but web services are having the limited scope, as it is applicable for the XML kind, and HTTP protocol only it supports. But there are some more advantages with API, it is accepting the HTTPS protocol as well, and also it accepts all kinds of requests like the plain text or JSON or XML. So nowadays, most popularly using the API and understanding the REST API architecture. As I said earlier, this is the REST API architecture. Like it is having the client server. The client is sitting in front of UI, but he can fetch the data from the database with the help of this HTTP methods. And what are the different HTTP methods? Get, put, post, and delete. And how we can how we will be using these methods, we'll be seeing, and validating the responses. As I said earlier, instead of reading and remembering all the lengthy error descriptions, for the easy sake purpose, people use these status codes, and each status code is having the different purposes. If you observe here, 100, if we receive the 100, it is informational. If we receive the series of 200, it is related to success. If we have receiving the 300 series, it is kind of redirection. If we receive 400, client error. If we receive server error. So we'll go for each status code one by one. Any doubts as of now?
Please follow. Please see in the chat. I think a couple of queries are there.
Okay. 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 Nutli is asking the yeah, the difference between web service and API. Yeah, like web service and API is mostly the similar what we call functionality, but the difference is just the web service is accepting the XML kinds of data only. Like if you observe here in the Postman, while providing the data, suppose if it is a post request, while providing the data, if you observe here, the post request is having the body, and we can pass the data in the format of text plain, JSON, JavaScript, XML, and HTML. Suppose if you are using the web service, we have to provide the XML data only. We are able to provide, like we are restricting ourselves to provide only the XML data. So the scope of the web service is very minimal. But if you are using the API, we can able to provide the input data in different formats. We don't know, like in real time, the application get the data from the different web services or different APIs, right? So in generalized and to utilize for more number of people and more number of clients, if we use the API can accept the different formats of data, either text, JSON, or JavaScript, or XML, or HTML, so that it will cover more number of clients. That's the reason API is restricted, and also web service is restricted, and also web service is applicable for HTTP protocol. Here, if you observe, the data is transferred from client to server over the HTTP protocol, right? So in web service, we don't have the secured protocol. Like the data can hack anyone. If we use the HTTPS, it is more secure. That's the reason we are using the, like in API we are having the option of using HTTP or HTTPS. But in web service, we don't have an option of using HTTPS. We are having option of only HTTP. If we are using HTTP, there might be a chance of hacking. That's the reason nowadays mostly people are using HTTPS. These are the differences. Is it clear? Sudarshan is asking, are these methods are enough to deal with all the situations, or we have other methods for some specific conditions? Usually, 90% we will encounter with these methods. Whatever I have I said, mostly we are doing these CRED operations only, as the database is allowing these CRED operations. There are different methods are there, patch, unpatch, and all. But these are enough for basics, I can say. Can I go for demo?
Yes, Venkata, please go for demo, and then we can cover a later question in a Q&A session.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, this is the UI of Postman. It is very simple. This is the request we are providing, and as I said earlier, we are having different HTTP methods. If you observe here, get, post, put, patch, delete. These five we usually most frequently we are using, and very less copy, head, options, link, unlink, purge. All these operations we will be using. I will tell you all about all those CRED operations and all. And here we are having different options. Usually in UI, we are having we might have to execute the same functionality in different environments SIT, UAT, and then pre-prod and prod. Like whatever, I hope you all are aware about UI testing, with manual or automation. UI testing, I hope you all are aware. Irrespective of the function, SIT, UAT, we all are doing there. It's a functional testing, right? So API is also a functional testing only. Like whether this API is working fine or not, we have to validate, and we have to told that okay, if like here we are validating through the response codes. Okay, like I will tell you how we can say what is the response we have to getting and all. Okay, suppose I'm taking an example of this website request response.in. I will ping you. This is a sample website. One second, it is loading. Okay. Okay. Before that, I will ping you after that. So here, if you observe here, there is a request and response. I have taken one of the sample website, and here I am providing the get method. What get is doing is it is just fetching the data, and I'm providing the URL, and whatever the content which is present in that particular URL, it is fetching the data. Observe here, we have provided some of the request, and we received the data. What we have to do, validate. Generally, we know as part of UI, we know if any functionality is working, suppose login functionality. Okay, if user provided the data, okay, if he successfully login, okay, we'll be saying okay, this functionality is working fine as a tester, either manual or automation. What we have to do as part of as part of API testing here is whenever the user provided some request, and if he whenever he sends the request, based on the request type, we have to validate the response code. As I said earlier, instead of reading whole content, here we have to validate as a status code in the form of status code. Okay, so here I have passed the HTTP code as get, and here I am passing HTTPS and some of the request response dot in API slash users. Whatever the content which is present in, if you observe the same request in the UI, this is the content which is present. So the same content we have to validate the same content which is present in the response or also not. If you observe the same content which is present, and also as I said earlier, the API can is accepting the different kinds of data. This is the JSON. We all know the JSON is in the form of key value pair. Here ID is the key, value one is the value. Like the output or response is coming in the form of JSON. If I don't want JSON, we can change it to XML as well. See, XML. If I don't want XML, we can switch the response or request based on our necessity. Okay, so in previously we have passed the get request, and if it is a successful get response, get request, then we'll be getting a success status code as 200. And also through API, we can perform the performance testing also. How we can perform the performance testing means, if you observe here, aside to the status code, we are having the time. This is the time which is indicating that how much time it is taking to retrieve that particular response. See, now it is 4136 milliseconds. If I click one more time, the time might increase or decrease based on the different condition. Now, if you see previously 4136 and now it is 1616. That means the response for the second time, the response is coming very quickly. It is based on the different, maybe because of internet speed or because of the traffic and all. It is based on different various factors. If we are working for performance testing, we have to analyze. As basic of API testing, we have to concentrate on this HTTP status code, whether it is 200 or not for a particular GET response. And also, if you observe here, there are different options. In the authorization tab, there are different options. No authorization, basic authorization, and all. Okay. What is authorization? Like, as I said earlier, here for the Disney Hotstar example,
Venkata, is there any option to zoom in your screen? We are seeing like almost 70% of your screen.
oh, okay. It is loading. Yeah. Yeah. My internet is very slow. I will explain through here. Yeah, usually authorization means if you observe here in Hotstar, we can able to access the Hotstar with Gmail or Facebook. Like if the user is having the account in Gmail or Facebook, if Gmail is authoring that particular user, no need to authorize additionally. So that is like Gmail is sending some code. Okay, this user is accepted user, and you can accept him to utilize your application or app. So that is kind of authorization. So the Gmail or the external user is sending that particular authorization as a code. So here, if you observe in the Postman, that is the authorization. So for particular some of the APIs may require the authorization, some of the APIs may not require the authorization. And in authorization also there are different types of authorization based on the developer develops that particular application, and also based on the importance of that particular application. And also here we are having another option, headers. Headers means it's a kind of highlights to that particular request. Here the authorization, as I said, this request doesn't require the authorization. And also the content type. Here we are passing the content for the get request. We need to pass any kind of data, and here the content is unlicoded format. And body, if you observe the other option, body is in the disabled state. Why? Because get request doesn't require the body, so that's the reason the body is in the disabled state. And also pre-request script. Pre-request, we all know about test engine UI automation. For any test case, we might have the preconditions and post conditions. While at the time of automation, we can put the preconditions, in the suppose in the UI prospective we have to load that particular WebDriver instance and all like that. Here in API, okay, whether the API is formed or not, or something, we can make as a pre-request. And in tests, this is the part where the actual automation script we can maintain. The Postman supports JavaScript, so here we can write the automation test script through Postman. Here there are sample snippets we can available, like here it is available. Something I'm choosing here, status code is 200 or not. So here I'm sending the request manually. Whether I received the status code 200 or not, we no need to write. Here some of the sample snippets are available, so I'm utilizing that. What does it mean? It's a kind of JavaScript. So here this is the test script name or test case name, and here we are validating response code dot code to 200. Here we are receiving 200. So if you scroll here, here test results. Why it is showing 1 by 2 means, here this one is one test case, this is second test case. So in the first test case, my test case name is successful post request. This is the test case name, here it is displaying. But here we received the status code as 200. So that's the reason first test case got failed. So I'm commenting, like it's a kind of IDE in the Postman itself. We can able to develop our test script in tests tab. I'm commenting and I'm running again. Here it is picking only one test case. Here it is showing only one test case, and I'm asserting here with the response code as 200, and here it is fetching 200 status code. That's the reason it is showing as pass with the green color. Some of the sample snippets here it is available, so that While automating, if anyone wants to automate, we can automate based on this similar scripts here in the test tab. Okay, like now if I as I said here, it is a get request. That's the reason this body is in the disabled state. But if I change it to post request, if you observe, body got enabled. Why? Because for the post request, post means we are placing the particular content in the API or in the database, I can say. So while if I using the post request, at that time body got enabled, that means it's a kind of payload. Usually in the interviews or anyone is asking what are the prerequisites for a post request. Suppose we are usually calling body as a payload. Payload means it is having some content. While providing the data, we might provide the data in format of, as I said, API. What are the advantages of API? For API, we can pass the data in any format, either text, JSON, JavaScript, XML, HTML. So that is the different formats it is accepting the data. So we can provide the data for a particular post request. So I'm taking the sample example here. Here post is used to create. So one second, it is loading. So API/users. So here I'm changing the method name as post. And here I'm selecting post request. Here I'm taking the post request, and this is the sample website for to work on the request and response of the different HTTP methods. And here I'm click on post request. Post request is to create this some content. So why with the help of a post request, while working with the post request, we have to provide the data. So I'm just providing the data. So whatever the data I'm providing here, it should create on this particular page or particular URL or website. So I click on that particular request. If you observe, previously for the get request, we have received 200 OK. Now for the post request, we have received 201 created. So we have to be remember, or we have to work with these status codes while working with APIs. So based on the status codes or the understanding of these the status codes description, we came to know that okay, this whether this API is working or not, or it is having the issue. Where it is having the issue, we will able to clearly we can debug, and we can find the root cause of it. If you observe here, if I whenever I click on this particular request with the help if the HTTP method as post, it is showing the status as 201 and created. That means post request is creating some of the resource in the particular website or particular server. So here it is created, it is showing, and the timestamp it is showing. It is in the JSON format. If I don't want in the JSON format, I can change the request and response also XML. It is showing in the XML format. based on the requirement it is showing. And also this my body doesn't have the body. Sometimes the body or the post request requires the headers also. That means a headers is just a highlight, like usually while writing any paragraph we usually putting some side headings or something, and we are writing like it is telling that what is the exact content. Like here the content is just creating the resource in that particular website. And as I said earlier, we can make use of this test script tab, like it's a kind of IDE, whether we are just asserting whether we received the status code or not. There are many templates available. If the templates are not available, we can make the code also. I'm just again sending the particular response. If you observe in the test results, my response status code is showing is 2 not 200. Why? Because my test case name I given as 200. That's the reason. I'm sending one more time. See here, the status code is 201, my test case name, and I received the 201 status code, and it is created. That it is got passed. Why? Because for the post request, we will be receiving 201 and created status. That's the reason it got passed. Suppose usually I wrongly given the path. Whatever the content which is present up to .in or .com, that is the host name. Like I will show you here. Like here, see, whatever the content which is here, request.response. After request.response, in that page only this many elements or this many paths are available. So this is the host. Under this host only this many elements present. That's the reason if you observe here, whatever the content up to this request.response.in, we are calling as a host name. After that, remaining API/users or anything, we are calling as a resource path, where the resource is present under the host. So up to request.response.in, we are calling as a host, and after that, resource path. Okay. And also, suppose any of the user wrongly mentioned the path with double slash or triple slash. We'll try what it will happen if we click on that particular request. It is saying that 404 not found. That means sometimes if we are using the external API or external content, if any mistake and that path is not available in that particular server, it is throwing the 404 not found error. If it is not found, it is showing throwing with not found. And also the existing test case also got failed. Why? Because we are getting some other response other than 201. Here we are asserted with 201. That's the reason it got failed. And also we'll hit with the existing one. Like as I said earlier, here we have different HTTP status codes. We have seen 200 OK, 201 created, and also 404 not found. If the path is not available, we'll be getting 404 not found. And also we might encounter while working with the real-time APIs, we might encounter all these status codes. As I said earlier, client error. Client error means it's a kind of the client has passed the wrong path or anything. That's the reason we received the client error. And also, I will show you with the put method. See, put is, as I said earlier, it's we have to correlate with the CRUD operations in database. As of now, we have seen get request and post request. Get is used to fetch the data from the database. Post is used to place the data in the database or place the data in the web server. Put is just an update. Here, the resource path got changed for the put. Here, we are changing the HTTP method to put. And for put also, it is, if you observe, whenever I'm changing to get, the body is in the disabled state. Whenever I'm changing to post, it is in enable state. And for put also, it is in enable state. That means while using these post request or put request, body is the mandatory parameter. That means with this body tab, we are making some changes. Either we are creating the content or we are making the modifying the existing content. So here, if you observe, while using the put, here they are using the body as this. So I'm providing the same in the text format. Here the text is selected. We'll see, previously we have seen JSON format. We'll see whether the API is accepting the text format also or not. And also here we are validating with 201. What it will happen, we'll see. We are using the to put method. So status code we have validated to 201, but we have received 200. So we will be changing to 200 and we are asserting with 200 and we are sending one more time so that the test case got pass. Like, what is the difference between post and put? Post means we are placing the data. We are placing the data. Put means we are modifying the existing data. Modifying the existing data. It's a kind of update. Okay. We'll be seeing one more method, patch. What it will happen for patch? For patch also, if you observe, bodies it is accepting. Okay. So what is the difference between patch and put? Patch means it is also kind of modifying, but if we want to replace, suppose my string is there, ABCD. If I want to replace the string ABCD in this particular string ABCD, if I want to replace C with E, suppose ABED. In this case, I have to use put. I have to use patch. Sorry, I have to use patch. That means we are just patching one of the character with other character. We are just replacing. So I have to use patch. If I want to replace if I want to replace ABCD with some other data, suppose EFGH, suppose, in that case, I have to use put. Okay. But here we are not working with the real-time APIs. We don't, as the APIs are business related functionalities. So no one is giving the access to allow to modify their existing APIs. So we can't able to test in the practice purpose also. We can't able to test the real time. But in real time, what is the purpose of put and patch? We'll able to see once the like while working with the real time APIs only, we'll able to see. So on a higher note, I can say patch is just if I having a string ABCD, I want to modify the C with E. In that case, I have to use patch. If I want to replace the string with another string, in that case, I have to use put. Okay. So here I am saying the patch also. The patch also is accepting the body, like the body tab is in the enable state. And if I hit this request, the response is saying, okay, that means it got created. Okay. And also if I hit, suppose there is a post request is there. If I hit multiple times, what it will happen, we'll see. It is saying the, what we call the status code is created. If I hit one more time, it is saying created. If I use put, it is saying, okay, status code is 200, 200. But in real time, what it is happening is post is, I said earlier, post is creating the resource. That means if I hit two times, it is creating We have to just resembles with the database, like it is creating two records. If I hit put two times, it's just updating the existing record, updating the existing record. Only one record only present in database, one record only present in database. Okay, so we have to be remember like post request, put request, and patch request. Post is used to create a resource, so put is used to modifying the existing resource with full content. Patch is used to modifying purpose only, but if we want to modify only the few characters, in that case we are using patch. So coming to Postman here, we have seen all the kinds of like all the major kinds of functionalities like get, post, put, and patch. Suppose delete I provided here, as it is a what we call the testing API. It is not accepting the, it's not a real-time API. So we can't able to say, okay, the data got deleted. Why? Because APIs are related to business functionality. So like we don't have the real-time experience and real-time functionality related to, we can't able to see. Just now we are able to see the status codes. Okay, if I use delete, after delete there will be no content in this particular page in the real time. That's the reason we are saying the content, no content here. Suppose if I'm fetching the data, suppose if I'm using the get request, then that time I will be getting 200 success status. If I'm using delete, I will be seeing like that whatever the content which is present in this particular resource path. As I said, this is the host name. Under that host only the resources are available. So this is the resource path. If I using the delete, whatever the resources which is present in this particular page, it is the content. There are no content if I using delete. So the for the no content there is a status code which is 204. So as of now, we have seen the individual request. We can make group. In the real time, we might have the requirement to execute the request as a bulk. Either the request may be different request, either get, post, put, patch, and anything, delete. So we have to make that request as a collection. Here, I have created the request as a collection. Here, if you observe, my collection name I have given as demo purpose. So I'm just clicking on this particular arrow button. Here it is displaying my collection name as demo purpose. Here we are having an option like we can have, we are able to share to some particular user group, or we can run this particular collection. I'm just running now as of now. Yeah. If you observe here, what are the different kinds of request which is available, it is showing. My collection name is demo purpose, and here I'm having post request, get request, and again get copy, something is there, and it is asking which environment you want to execute. In the general UI testing, we'll have different, we like as a tester we have to execute in the different environments before going into live or production. We have to execute in different environments. So this also asking in which environment we have to execute. Each environment will have the different IP addresses and different hosts. That's the reason we can execute based on the requirement. And run, it is saying the whatever the collection name we are given here, I have given here a demo purpose. That's the reason button is showing run that particular collection. If I clicking on that particular this button, whole requests are previously we have seen we are running the request, each and every individual request we are running manual, we are going to that particular request and running. Instead of that, we are grouping that particular request and making as a single folder and that particular folder we are calling as a collection, and we are running as a bulk. If you observe here, previously we are going to each individual request and we are saying, okay, we received the 200 success status code, or 201 or 204 no content or not. Instead of that, we can make all the request as a folder. We are calling that as a collection, and we are executing in a single instance. So the new separate window with the name collection runner, it is showing and it is executing. And as I said earlier, with the API testing, with the Postman API testing, not only we can able to validate the success status codes or the performance of the, we can able to validate the performance of the API. If you observe, based on the how much time we'll be getting that particular response. If you observe the post response, we received in 643 milliseconds and 369 milliseconds. For each API, there might be some SLA. So based on the client requirement, we have to, the developer has to develop that particular API, and as a tester, we have to get that particular API response in the prescribed time. We have to validate that. And also, if you observe here, there is an option of code here. There is an option of code. If I click on here, there is a something it is showing as curl, and some JSON format. It is showing whatever the data we have provided. What is the use of this curl means? Sometimes as a tester, we are working in different test environments, either SIT or something, and the developer is developed in some developer environment. So usually the developer is pushing his code in Git or something, and we are fetching and we are deploying into the test environment, suppose something. And while testing, we'll be observing that whatever the developer is saying, okay, the code is working, you can test now. But when we are executing in our environment, we are facing some issues and we are reporting to the developer that, hey, this code is not working. You are saying this code is working, and we are raising some particular defect, and we are attaching some logs. And he is logging into that particular test environment. He is observing that some configuration related things, or some dependencies are missed, or some version mismatch are happened. So instead of all these gaps, if the developer is providing this curl, we can directly utilize this curl, and we can see what I'm doing. I'm just copying this curl, or copying this copy board, and I'm using the import option. I'm using the paste raw text option, and I'm pasting that particular curl, and I'm importing. Here I imported. Okay. And I can directly I can directly utilize that particular API. What is the advantage? I no need to provide the body externally. I no need to bother about headers, what headers are provided. It's just kind of copy and paste whole content with no more dependencies. Suppose in UI perspective, if you observe uh, each functionality we require some dependencies, suppose test engine dependency or maven dependency and all. So instead of that, if we directly what we call import the packages, that dependencies issues will resolve, right? Like that only here, with the help of curl, it will work similar throughout the environments. However the code is working in the development environment, the same code he deployed with including the dependencies. So we no need to bother about what the dependencies, what are the preconditions, what kind of configurations it required. It will work as it is. So usually after completion of development of API, the developers will are giving the curls, so that the testers can test in different environments before the production. That is the advantage. And also, I'm just recapping what we discussed here today as a high note. introduction to API testing, and what are the importance of the why the API testing is important. As I said, API is the intermediate layer between the UI and database. It is fetching the data and it is placing the data with the help of API. And what is web service and understanding the REST API architecture. The REST API architecture means the client UI and database. It is fetching over the HTTP methods or the HTTP protocol, and we are having different HTTP methods like get, post, put. It is similar to CRUD operations in database, create, read, update, and delete. And what are the difference between web service and API? We also have seen the practical, like API is accepting the text kind of data also. If you observe here, while providing the data in the raw, I provided the data as text. I can provide the data in XML also. It is accepting the XML kind of data. Even text format also I changed. If you observe, when I am selecting the text, it is in the disable, like it's not highlighting. Whenever I selected JSON format, see, it is the color got changed and the representation got changed. That's the major differences while providing the data in text format or in the JSON format. And the web service is accepting only the HTTP responses, HTTP protocols. It's not more secure. So there is a chance of more hacking will happen over the web service compared to web API. And what are the different tools? We have seen basic functionalities and how we can utilize the Postman, and as a functional tester through API, what kind of request and responses we have to validate, and what are the different HTTP methods we have present. And in UI, usually we are observing the functionality of the each web element, either it is a submit button or a form or anything. We are functionally validating and all. But as a API tester or anything, how we can validate? Here we are validating through status codes. We have seen how we can, what are the different status codes we observed. Today we have seen about 200 OK for get response, 201 for post response, and 404 not found we have seen. And bad request, if we have sent any bad request, we'll be getting 400 request. And unauthorized, if the API requires, suppose as I said earlier, the email is like if a user is having the Gmail account, and the Gmail account got expired or it is in the inactive state, then that time it is throwing that okay, this user is having the account but it is in the disabled state, so it is not authorized to utilize that particular application at this moment. Then that time we will be getting 401. We can explore a number of HTTP methods based on the necessity and the project requirement. Any doubts?
So I think this is a great demo, Venkat, right? And now I'm allowing the mic for the participants, and there are a couple of questions, right? So everybody can ask a question. So guys, please follow the basic rule. Okay, raise your hand, and I will call out the name, and then you can ask a question. Okay, so please do not disturb. Like if somebody is asking a question, this is a humble request from all of you. Please raise your hand, and everybody will get a chance. Okay, so let me allow a mic for everybody, and you can unmute yourself once the mic is allowed. Okay, so everybody mic has been enabled. Guys, please mute yourself. The first hand I can see, San Mugam. So you can ask your question. You can unmute yourself and then ask a question.
Hello, hi sir, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, sir. Sir, I have one doubt, sir. The HTTP method of XML and JSON format.
Yeah.
So only both or two are using the various any other types or for API testing.
Yeah, like usually, like most predominantly, we are having HTML, XML, and JSON formats. We can use text also. As I showed here, we can make like we can change the request type as text, and we can send the request.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, like most
okay.
predominantly the XML and JSON. That's the reason I have given a demo like with XML and JSON.
Oh, okay. Which one is for usually to get your data?
Yeah. While working with REST API, so usually we are getting the request in the form of JSON, as the JSON is having the key value pair, and also
Okay,
uh, like if you know the UI structure, we are having the XPath there. Like in JSON also, we are having the to identify the particular element in the JSON,
okay,
we are having the
okay,
JSON path. So that's the reason JSON we are widely using.
okay, okay, sir. Okay, I understand.
Thank you, San. Please lower your hand. Thank you
Okay,
for your
thanks.
question. Great question. Yeah. Second is Assis. Assis, please unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ketan, and thank you, Venkat, for a nice session. So my question is, what is the difference between REST and SOAP API?
Okay. Yeah, as I said earlier, like SOAP is accepting the XML kind of structure only. See, as I showed here, like if I like Postman, I showed for the REST APIs. Like for the SOAP request, usually we are using the SOAP UI. In that time, we don't have this many options. We are having only option of XML only. That means if we are using SOAP structure, we are ourselves limiting the users that you have to use the XML. Okay. And also, as I said earlier, while showing the advantage of API in the slide, one second, in the slide, as I
Mm.
said, it is language independence. That means if we are using web service, we have the external user or the client has to use the XML structure only. Okay. But API is like it is accepting all kinds of data, whether the text or HTML or JSON or anything. So it's a like it is increasing the user's capacity if we are using API, REST API, I can say.
Okay, okay. And my second question is, what is the important key points for writing the test cases for API related? Any major
Okay.
key points? Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's based on the kind of HTTP method and the kind of requirement from the client. Why? Because the clients are like in some projects, the clients are asking, okay, like as a tester, you have to validate whether this API is giving the response in the prescribed time. Okay. Suppose here we are seeing the response time here we are getting 764, right? The in the client SLA itself. He might expecting the response in 500 milliseconds, suppose. Okay. So
Okay.
that also one of the test case as a tester, like see, almost all APIs will be giving the response, but the we have to see as a tester, we have to see the whether the API is giving the response in the prescribed time also or not. That also important, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so that also we have to consider, as well as whether the correct, see, suppose it's a post request, whether it is creating that particular resource or not. Suppose
Mm.
I have a resource of three. I said here, this is the host and this is the resource. Okay. Whether the whatever the resource is created correctly in this particular page or not.
Okay.
Yeah, like we have to see. And also we don't know, like the user can send his request in different formats, right? It is integrating with the different systems in the real time. So whether it is accepting the request in different formats or not.
Okay. Yeah, got
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a very good question, Assis. So I'm just getting like a announcement from my sales team. So Rishka want to announce something, and guys, please wait. We will continue with the Q&A question.
Yeah.
Rishka, over to you, and then we will continue with.
Yeah. So We appreciate all of you being here. We are going to start a new session on SDET from 30th of April. Those of you who are interested can enroll themselves by visiting our website. We are sharing the coupon code on the chat window again for the special discount, that is 10%, which is valid for today itself, and you can get the instant discount by applying that coupon on the link provided through which you can visit our website and apply that coupon, and you can get the instant discount on the course fees. Also, guys, please provide your valuable feedback for us on Google reviews and Trustpilot. We are sharing the links for the same over the chat window. These feedbacks and reviews will help us a lot in future and
Great.
motivate us
Thank you.
also. Yeah.
Thank you, Dishka. Okay, so let me continue, guys. So this is a great offer, right? In case if you have any question, you can reach out to our sales team. Thank you, Dishka. So let me continue. So next hand, I can see Neha. Neha, please unmute yourself and ask a question.
Ethan and hi Venkat. Thank you for giving this wonderful, I mean, knowledgeable session. So actually, my question, like it will be like in a three part. The first question was like when you were telling about the API testing versus the web services, right? So there was a point which you have mentioned that all the web services are can be considered as an API, but not for
Yes,
the API, right?
correct,
But
correct.
yeah, so but there was another point which you have just like next one you have mentioned, which I got confused. Like you mentioned that the web services cannot be considered as API. So because it is a secure HTTP you are mentioning. So like how exactly it is different if all the web services are using the HTTP method? So it should be considered as for the API, right? Like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
exactly? Yeah,
yeah. As I said, all web services are API, but all APIs are not web services.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
it is all web services are APIs are interacting with the two different systems, but a web service is like over the network, like it is in between the two different systems. Web services are interacting.
Okay. Okay.
That's the
And
reason web services are APIs.
okay. Okay. So, I mean, can you give a little bit of more practical or, you know, in a layman term example, like you mentioned for the Hotstar for me, because it will be easier for me to understand or, you know, visualize, I guess.
Okay, okay. Suppose here. Yeah, usually for any external application, as I said earlier, the Disney application doesn't require the credentials of that particular user. No need to maintain. It is interacting with the Gmail, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if your user is having the Gmail account, he no need to what we call no need to log in and all. So it is interacting with the two different applications, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here both are similar, but the kind of data it is accepting, if it is accepting the if the if the particular service is developed, and if it is accepting only the XML, then we are calling as a web service.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
So
It
Neha,
is
maybe Venkat, I can chime in. So Neha, just understand, like let's say there are two systems. One is written in mainframe, another
Yeah.
is written in Java. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
you have to interact from one system to another system. Can you interact?
Without intermediate layer, I don't think so. I mean,
No, right? So you need something that something and talk to one system can talk to another system, right? And that's
right.
something where the XML come into the picture.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so XML is something which mainframe also understands, and XML is something let's say Java also understand, right? So this is a way of interacting from one technology or one system to the different system. That's
Right.
something we called as a web services.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, yeah, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
And yeah, just one quick question also. Like, can you give a little bit of more idea for the HTTPS? Like, what is the body and like because you were mentioning for the when you were telling about the post, right? So there was like some location you have been going through, but actually, I just like before the session, I had a little bit of idea. So there were like a lot of positioning or you know was mentioned when you give HTTP request. So can you like give us a little bit of idea for the HTTP exactly like what would be the format and at what location this thing is available, like domain name and like other things?
Yeah.
Neha, sorry to say, this is a lengthy topic. If we will try to explain, you will
Okay.
not able to explain, right? So
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
you can join our next session, or maybe you can talk to our sales team, and there is a specific course around it, and we will guide you each and everything on that.
Sure, sure. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you so much, Neha. Okay, so next participant is Sweetie in my list. Sweetie, please unmute yourself and you can ask a question. Okay, Sweetie, are you able to? Can you hear me? Okay. Anyway, so next participant is Satyajit. Satyajit, please unmute yourself. Satyajit,
Uh,
is
ho-
there?
yes, hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you're audible now. Please go ahead.
Yes,
So
sir.
my question is to Venkat. So can you simply rely on status code only while validating the response, or will there
Uh,
be any secondary checks? I mean, for
yeah,
an
yeah.
example, if we make a post call, how can you be sure that it will always give 201 response?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Like most predominantly, we have to rely on the status codes. If not, we might have to validate or assert the body of the response. Suppose I have provided the request as here, the post request, and if I am asserting, most predominantly why, because why we are rely on status code is it is very simple, and everyone can what we call say, okay, if we have if we have received the status code as something based on the http status code, or we can validate the body of the particular request.
Okay,
Got it?
okay, okay. So in that case, the JSON payload we can validate for a secondary checks, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
To validate that JSON payload, however, in UI we are having XPath. Here we are having a JSON path, and we can access that particular element, and we can fetch the data, and we can put it in the automation test script or here in IDE.
okay, okay. Thanks.
It's, I
Okay.
would
Thank
request
you.
you, if you like the session, please share your review. It will help us and encourage us to impart these sessions in the future as well. So it will not take more than 10 seconds. I have just shared the Google review link in the chat. The Google review, it will really helpful for us. Thank you.
Thanks again. Next participant, Sweetie. Sweetie, please unmute yourself. Maybe if you joined from someone else's account, if somebody.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. We can hear you.
Good,
Please go ahead with your
good
question.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, my question is that which type of test cases we can write for a financial bank project
Yeah, like it is
in a
depending on what kind of APIs it is calling and what kind of systems it is interacting with. And suppose any application, like as part of, if it is utilizing the API and if it is interacting with two different systems, it is related to all these HTTP methods only. We can write the test cases related to the status codes, or what kind of the response they are expecting. Suppose, as you said, it's a banking application, so whether whatever the particular amount, if the customer got detected, whether that particular amount is detected correctly or not, and the customer received the message or not. If you observe, we will be getting some OTPs, whether to authenticate that particular user or not. So whether the particular it is, while getting that particular OTP or something SMS, it is interacting with the bank system as well as our network provider, right? So that
yes.
based on requirement, we can have a scope to write the test cases.
And Sweetie, you can write
Okay,
functional and regression, both
thank
kind of the scenarios here.
okay.
Sure. Thank you, Sweetie.
Thank you, sir.
And next is, thank you. Next is Hari Roka. Hari, please unmute yourself. Yeah. Hari, we are not able to hear you. Maybe come closer to mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I have a question for regarding the automation API automation testing. Do you have any sample automation so that I can start learning the automation from the scratch?
So, Hari, this is a basic that we have covered during this webinar, right? And you please follow our YouTube channel. We keep sharing a lot of technical videos on API and automation. So you can learn from there. In case if you want to join our course on the estate or on the API, you can reach out to our sales team.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next is Hari.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Venkat, for this session. It's very useful and helpful. Uh, I have some question like regarding the practice. So, is there any website where we can practice, and do we have any open source tools with which we can
Yes.
practice?
Yes, Hari. Yes, I will be sharing what is the website and all. But we can able to see the status codes and all. Why? Because these like APIs are the business functionalities. So if we do any CRUD operations, it might impact, right? That's the reason. Like we don't have real time access to use those APIs, but we can feel it, like whether it is creating the resource or like as even in demo also I have used this sample website, but with that it will not impact the real API. It is just throwing the status codes and as the corresponding status codes only. So whatever the website I used, I will be pinging in the chat box.
And other than that, Hari, you can try weather websites. Okay, those are the open source website, and even there are a couple of more. You can just Google it, and you will find out for the practice.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you. Next is Balaji.
Hello, I'm audible. Hello.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
Bala.
Please go ahead.
I have a question regarding a postcode. If I want to check the uploading a file in Postman means, should I have to use post method, right?
Yes.
And I have other question. If I want to delete a particular attachment from the in my web page or in my application, do I need to send any particular ID for that particular attachment
uh,
in my body, in
yeah,
my request body?
Yeah, it's all depends on the how the developer develops that particular API, like
Okay.
what kind of parameters he passed. So based on that, to understand the functionality API, we are having the Swagger document actually. If you Google it, swagger.io, I will be pinging that path also. It will be differ from each project and each developer also.
Okay.
Each API, I can say each API. So it is project specific. So the developers will provide the Swagger document. So we have, like as a tester, we have to read that particular Swagger document. We have to understand that document, and based on that, what kind of parameters it is required, we have to pass those parameters, and we have to make that operation successful.
Okay. Is it as you said? Is this any possibility to fully automate the test cases in Postman, like
Fully
rest assured?
automate. So yeah, there is a limitations there, as Postman is more of manual intervention is there. A very limited scope for automation through Postman. That's the reason any REST APIs, so we are using rest assured.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the answer and thanks for the session, Venkat.
Thank you, Balaji. Guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You will get this recording. Okay, thank you so much, Balaji. Next is Jiko in my list.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yep, please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ketan. Thank you, Venkat, also for the session. So my questions is, I have two questions actually. So, so what are the other common assertions that we usually use to validate other than the status code? That's the first question, and then the second question, could you please like revisit the collection runner? So is it some kind of like a test suite run in the automation, like
Yes, yes,
you can?
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
like here initially we have seen the individual request, right?
Yep.
While giving the request itself, if you click here, it is asking where to save.
Yeah.
If I'm saving here, by clicking here, it is, see, if you observe here, it is, we can make the collection. Collection is nothing but a folder we are creating. However, in Windows we are having collections and folders and files. Like that we are making the collection. So I have used the demo.
Yeah. I see. So we need to save it into the folder first, and then we collect the folder into the collection.
Correct, correct. And after that, we have to click on this particular arrow button.
Okay.
And it is saying run. There is
Okay.
option to run. It's a kind of, as you said earlier, it's a kind of test run, test shoot. It contains multiple test suites.
Okay, got it. So, what about the assertions? Is it like, is there any other assertions other than common assertions other than the status code?
Yes, yes. There are assertions. There not only like every time we have to relay or we have to dependent on status codes, but most predominantly in the Postman we are working with the status codes as it is easy to understand. We can go for the particular body of the response. Like previously, suppose someone said banking application. For the banking application, for the username, we have to validate. Suppose in the response we have to fetch the username with the help of JSON path. We can easily find the JSON path and we have to fetch that particular username. Like that also. I will show you. If you observe here in the test, we are having some sample snippets, right?
Yeah.
With these sample snippets, suppose here, see, response body contains a particular string. Okay. See, this is the my test case name and response body, whether it is having the string you want to search. Something is there or not, I'm searching. Okay. Like that, based on the necessity and based on the requirement, we can provide here the data and we can validate whether the response is having that particular string or not.
Okay, got it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Venkat. Yeah, that answers my question.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah. If you have any more question, you can reach out the numbers that we are flashing in chat window. Okay, we will able to help you out. Thank you. Next is Karthik.
Thank you.
Karthik Sagar, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this. I have one question. Samples which you have shown are great examples to start with, but in real time, I think the responses, the request and the response, the payloads, they would be quite huge in terms of complex JSON formats happening. So, what are the use cases, or how do we go ahead in terms of validating them? And also, every request on response, they follow a specific schema. Like certain fields would be mandatory, certain fields would be optional. So, how do we manage to ensure that the required fields are coming up correctly on the requests and the optional fields are still optional? My second question is again in continuation with it. So if we have web services they are speaking with each other, and how do we know that I'm sorry, how do we know that the client and the server, they are actually conforming to the correct payload and nothing?
Hello.
Hey, Sagar, you are breaking in between. We could not
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
your
I
question.
got. Yeah. I got it, Sagar. Actually, as I said, for anything you said in the real time we are having huge what we call payloads. For that, we are having the Swagger documentation. Like the developer will be giving the Swagger documentation after completion of the API. So based on the Swagger documentation, we are providing the data. If it is very huge, he will be breaking into different APIs, not as a single. Okay. so that we can able to, like, we are partitioning that functionality. Here we are doing the functional testing only, so we are breaking that particular functionality. Suppose user gets the OTP or not, and after user is entering that OTP in the particular text box, and user is authenticating, and the user is successfully log into that particular application. It's whole functional flow, right? So here we can break based on the based on the necessity, we can break and we can test. Like that we can minimize the payload in a real time also. Anyhow, like we are having a reference of Swagger, based on that we can provide. If any mismatch in providing, like as you said, if we are getting the mismatch of payload, so we are having a chance to validate against Swagger documentation. The Swagger documentation is completely independent for each API. So we can refer with the developer whether the Swagger refers, and I can refer the Swagger document or not. So like that we can validate, and we can assert, and we can use it in our API purpose. I hope this answers your question.
Right. Any thoughts on schema validations?
Sorry.
Schema validation of the response?
Schema validation we usually seeing in web services, like there we are having schema validations. Based on my knowledge, at Postman level, no schema validations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the session again.
Thank you, Karthik. And guys, just one information, like we are having like this kind of a technical webinar every month, either Cucumber, automation framework, DevOps, right? So please keep visiting our LinkedIn page. You will get all the information. And in case if you want to go for the DevOps certification, you can reach out to our sales team. There is a huge offer going on from the DevOps University. We have a lot of vouchers from them. Okay. So next question is from Karthik. Sorry, from Priyadarshini.
Able to hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, like that put and patch one thing, like both are modifying. Can you show me the difference uh,
Yeah.
of that, please?
Yeah, actually, as I said, this is not the real-time API. Like it's related to interlink with the business functionalities. We can't able to replicate here, but put and patch, as I said earlier, put is used to replace. Suppose there is a string is there. There is a. I will show you here. Like I will explain. But as I said, this is not the real-time API, and that's the reason I can't able to show here. But I will explain. String ABCD is there. If we are having a requirement to replace ABCD with EFGH, example, in that case we have to use put, and there is a requirement. Hello. Yeah, yeah, and there is a requirement, instead of ABCD, in ABCD instead of replacing B with E, suppose B with E, in those cases we have to use patch. Patch means we are doing partial update. Patch means partial update. We can remember like this. Put means complete update.
Oh,
Got it?
got it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
another question is like I saw the API tools you showed first, Postman
Yeah.
along with SOAP UA and Rest Assured API.
Correct.
So like how SOAP UA and Rest Assured API will be that? Just can you give me like outline? Like it will be same as Postman.
Yeah, sure. Like SOAP UI is used for XML, like for XML request and responses. Postman will applicable for usually most of the things we are using for REST APIs. We can do SOAP also, and Rest Assured is for automation.
So Priya, these are the just different tools from different companies like SOAP-UI and Postman. Okay, so there are a couple of more tools, like even if you will find out. So whatever you are comfortable, you can do the API testing. Rest assured is just totally for automation.
Yeah. With Postman, we are having very limited scope for automation. That's the reason REST should come into picture. There we can make the different POJO classes and all, and we can utilize.
And we can write a lot of custom code using that. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the
Okay,
session.
sure. If you have any other question, you can reach out to us in future. Okay. Thank you, Priya, for asking the question. Great question. And the last hand I can see is from the Ben. Ben, please unmute yourself. GTKL Ben, I can see your name. Okay, if you don't have any question, I think we are done. Anybody want to ask a question? Now you can unmute. I cannot see any hand. Okay, that's a great. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. Okay, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any question related to technology, any question related to automation, DevOps. We are expert in this area, and we will able to help you out. Okay, okay, Harman, please go ahead. I can see your.
Yeah, I want to ask, can you share the recording after that?
So recording will be shared on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and you will get a notification.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, link you can find out in our chat. Recording will be uploaded shortly. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I think we are on top of our, and thank you so much for joining. And in the coming months, we are going to have a webinar on Cucumber and as well as in automation framework, how to design framework on automation, what is your BDD, what is TDD. So don't follow to subscribe our LinkedIn and YouTube channel. You will get a lot of learnings. Thank you guys. And thank you, Venkat, for the great presentation and for your presence. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.